So my name is Zoe. My pronouns are they, them. I am the main dyer behind, well, I'm the only dyer behind Woolerton Estate Yarns, which is my side business. I do own a yarn shop called Crochet & Co. in Montreal. And during the pandemic, I thought I had a bunch of time on my hands, so I started dyeing yarn as well. And yeah, both of them have taken off now. So I'm juggling two big businesses and now a new old house. She's 200 years old, and we're going to be turning her into the Woolerton Estate, where you could come and stay, learn how to dye yarn, and do all the fun things here if you're in the Quebec province. During COVID, during the closures, I found that I needed to do something with myself, so I learned how to spin yarn, and then got the handle of that, got myself a spinning wheel, and then I was like, okay, what's next? And I've always wanted to try dyeing yarn, and I had a friend who wanted to try it, so we're like, okay, let's do this. We did it over Zoom, and we both became really hooked onto it. So I'd also been watching a lot of Downton Abbey, and I hadn't watched Bridgerton at that point, but I'd been watching a lot of Downton Abbey, and I was like, yeah, I want an estate. I can't afford one. I have a bunch of yarn now, so maybe I could create my own kind of like Downton Abbey style of estate family. And so that's how Woolertons came to be. So yeah, we all of my friends are part of the Woolerton family. A lot of my yarns are named after them as well. And so yeah, I just, out of not even boredom, out of nothing else to do because I couldn't go and work in the shop, I started dyeing yarn. And for me, Woolerton is very much a fever dream between Downton Abbey and the Victorian era, and obviously the big neon dreams that I have now. So it's something that I think a lot of people can enjoy because it does bring those two together. And being a queer person, having a queer-owned business with my wife, we wanted to create kind of like a safe space for artists to really express themselves however they wanted. So Woolerton is very much that. There is a lot of self-expression in there, and you can express yourself however you'd like. And so that's why I create yarns and colorways that will inspire people to really be themselves. So we have everything. We have everything for everyone. I really want to cater to the new wave of designers, crafters, just everyone, anyone essentially. But I want to kind of open up that box and like just let yourself be as creative as you want, because knitting can be very conventional and in the old sense of the way. A lot of people are like, oh, my grandmother used to knit, but this isn't your grandmother's knitting, as they all say. Like, this is you being able to express yourself. So my products are for everyone, because I feel for me, knitting is a form of self-expression. For me, I usually wear a lot of black when I buy clothing. So when I make my own clothing, I really want to have myself reflected, which is why you'll see me in a lot of neons. You'll never see me really like in the softer neutral colors. Neons are my neutrals. And so I wanted to create a product that it would be, someone can take it and make it unique in its own way. So it's colors that aren't necessarily the most adventurous, but depending on how you pair them together, you can really create something that really represents you. So my products are for everyone, any type of crafter, because you can do pretty much anything you'd like with them. I have weavers, I have embroiderers, crocheters, knitters. So there's just so many different things you can do with these yarns. So I really just wanted to cater to everyone, but I also wanted to make a safe space for people so they can feel free to be themselves through their knitting or through their crafting, because there's a lot of conventional things out there, especially in the knitting world, but I wanted to create something that where people could feel like I can do whatever I want and not have to worry about, oh, is this going to be trendy? Is this going to be, accepted by others? Because if I can do it, so can you. Like, everyone can do this.
Along those lines, what inspires you to choose the samples that you create and the kits that you create from them?
So for the samples, for the most part, I do two things. I look for size inclusive sampling, or so patterns that I choose to sample need to be size inclusive, because I'm not a standard size person. I want my items, my garments that I sample to be inclusive to everyone. And also I want them to be not necessarily gender inclusive, but not non-gendered clothing. So this can be stuff that can be worn by anyone, for anyone, not specific to a gender. As a non-binary individual, I kind of reach for both things in the closet sometimes, but I do want to wear items of clothing that don't necessarily have to reflect the gender I'm supposed to be. Like a lot of people assume, I have makeup on, curly hair, my nails done. It's like, oh yeah, no, it's just because I like it. So for me, having colors like this is because I like it. It's nothing else than just because like it makes me feel me. This is really who I am on the inside of my skin sack. Like this is what I look like inside. I am openly queer, out, married, and I talk about this a lot. My labeling has all to do with my family, my wife, my dogs. I feel that there are not that many out queer individuals in the fiber world that are taking a lot of space or make a lot of noise. There are a lot, but there needs to be more. There needs to be more representation, more. And so for me, I want to be that kind of person that can stand up and say, hey, I'll use my voice to talk for you. So I think my products, for one, they're not just for gay people. Like, no, they're for everyone. But I am very proud to do the work and be a voice for others when I have a voice. So it's yeah, I think my products are unique for that because of who I am in a sense. But I won't say that they're better than anybody else's because they're not, because everybody has great products. So it's just, a fun diversity thing that I don't think you don't see enough of. So I focus mostly on yarns. I have a bunch of bases. They all vary between, superwash yarns, non-superwash yarns. Personally, my favorites are non-superwash. So this year we did introduce 2 new bases that are 100% natural yarns that are non-treated. One's 100% Canadian and the other one is 100% UK. They're both grown and milled within the same kind of radius, and so they're very, very important to me. They're the types that I like to use. I do have like your basic merino tweeds. Well, tweed is the one thing that like not many people dye. I dye, and I also dye them in neon. So I have a 24 color range that goes from like your very regular non-neons to your neon collection. So I'm always updating that. But yeah, I just have yarns for everyone. So I don't stop myself at certain colorways. However, I do focus more on tonals and semi-solids because I personally prefer working with solid yarns that allows me to do much more than speckled or variegated. So you will definitely be able to find a lot of solid stuff within my collections more than speckles. And then you will also find now this kit, the anemone kit, has been like the best seller since we launched it, and I have about 5 new colorways coming out for it as well. So I'm excited for Edmonton for that. But yeah, so just a lot of color. It's mostly a lot of color. So the house, we weren't on the house market, and actually a lot of people still don't know about the house because I do run the business. Like my shop's in Montreal, so I'm an hour and a half away. So I run my business at a distance. But the house is in the Eastern Townships in Quebec, so we're actually across the street from the border from the States. I'm looking across the street and I can literally see the States. That's how close we are to the States. It's an old town. We are one of the oldest houses here. Our house is older than Canada. It's 176 years old. So it's pretty old. And she's been well maintained, but we've been wanting to turn her into a bed and breakfast. So hopefully by the new year, even before, fingers crossed, we'll have 2 out of the 3 bedrooms available to rent. We will be having some dyeing workshops, some come and spend the weekend here. Food's included. I cook everything. It's like allergy free and all those kind of things. And it's just a place to come and have a knitting retreat. So we're hoping to eventually, we have 2 barns. So we're hoping to turn one into a studio and then the other one into a kind of reception hall and dormitory to have people come in and stay for like an extended period of time. But yeah, so there's a YouTube channel, Woolerton Estate Yarns. I slowly put up the vlogs for us renovating the house. There'll be some dyeing content up eventually, but mostly for the house. And yeah, on Instagram as well. So you can find us at Woolerton Estate Yarns. My website, woolertonyarns.com, because Woolerton Estate Yarns was too long. Woolertonyarns.com is where you can pre-order all your yarns. I do dyed on order. I find it a lot easier for clients to find what they like. I offer inclusive sizing discounts as well. So if you buy 5 skeins or more of the same colorway, you do get a 20% discount. For me, it's really important to support those of us who are not standard sizes. So yeah, I do pretty much everything ready to tied to order. There are some ready to goes that I do update from time to time. You can find us on Instagram at Woolerton Estate Yarns. If you are unable to shop on my website but want to go to a local yarn shop, I have a few spots available. There's Bad Rabbit and Bad Anna's in Vancouver, Yarn Divas in St. Albert, so in Edmonton, and I'll be with them at Gathering Threads. There's Fabrications in Ottawa, and there's also my own shop in Montreal, so Crochet & Co. So those are currently my Canadian shops, and there'll be a few more coming up this fall, but yeah, so you can find us there. And if you guys wanted to visit my own shop, Boutique Crochet Co. We're in Verdun in Montreal. You can find us on Instagram at Boutique Crochet Co. And so you find more than just my stuff. We have several very amazing dyers in shop.